Damn.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Pjamma from Pjamma Life. And today we are reviewing the exciting WandaVision. And it's episode 3 and it's in color. So it is getting very interesting. And a lot of things are happening. So why don't we take a look at a quick highlights.
You see, when a man and a woman love each other very much, every new thought of it gets nervous. I have no skill for that. Go there.
Vision. Liz,
Yes, dear.
I think my water just broke.
Yes, dear.
Together, 1+1 is family. One vision.
Where's Geraldine?
Oh, she left, honey. She had to rush home.
Lot of stuff going down, and I'm so excited. I forgot to introduce ourselves. So you know me, I'm Pjamma for Pjamma Life. And why don't we have our buddies go ahead and introduce themselves?
Hello, everybody. I'm David. I hope you're enjoying the third episode of WandaVision as much as I think all three of us are. But it's great to have you here tonight.
Hey everybody, I'm Patrick. Yeah, it's really good, and I hope you guys like it. And I hope you're catching all the good little neat tidbits and morsels that are in there.
Yes, and I like to say welcome to Electric Melanin is in the house joining us. Hey, Electric Melanin. So what this episode is, in a quick nutshell, is that it's now, I guess, kind of the next day, and Wanda and Vision now are talking about having a family. And so Wanda is pregnant. I don't know how that happens, but she's also, her powers are getting wonky because of the pregnancy. And so, but now you're starting to see some hints of something else that's going on. And at the end of the episode, you see that what's happened is something that's not normal. So let's talk about the episode, and then I'll talk about some of the Easter eggs that I looked up in the episodes. And I have to admit, I watched this one about 4 times so I could try and see what I could see each time, a little different, to kind of give me clues about what's happening. So, David, why don't you talk about what you thought of the episode?
You know, it continues, the plot thickens, and it's so intriguing. Mm-hmm. So if obviously we've got this kind of Brady Bunch, the joyous 1970s sitcom going on there. Gotta love the clothes,
Mm-hmm.
But beneath this great facade of suburban domesticity, we've got a great sense of people very scared and
Mm-hmm.
a sense of folks being trapped, which I think really stood out to me, like caged animals. We're seeing all the folks. We were introduced to the doctor. He can't go to Bermuda. He's stuck there. You see the neighbors even kind of drilling through a fence, a concrete fence, in some subtext of an escape. So there's a lot going on. And even Vision, He certainly, while he's kind of looked at as maybe a warden in some respects, you get a sense where he doesn't have a lot of control over what's going on in this world too. He's as much a pawn in this seemingly as anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it is it's just absolutely fascinating in where we're going with this. I've had to watch it a couple of times myself, breaking down the game film to see it. Really a neat kind of thing that here with the Marvel. It's a little different than what you'd expect from a superhero flick, and it's really got me literally on the edge of my seat because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's a good point you made, David, about the fence. I thought that was really interesting, and it might be also kind of like trying to break through what's going on with her. So I think we're getting some kind of psychological subtext in here too. And I thought that when I saw that, I was like, okay. And Patrick, talk about what you think. And then maybe you can give us some, maybe you have more background being more involved with Marvel that you might see. Oh, and hold on, before you do that, hey, want to say hey to Tim Windsor, our first fan. And so we are glad to see him back. Hey, Tim, and our buddy Dwayne DeMarcos, and glad to see him on board too. All right. Okay, go ahead, Pat.
First off, I would just like to talk about how wonderful they've done a good job of recreating some favorite 70s sitcoms.
Yes.
I mean, there was a definite Partridge Family vibe and definitely a Brady Bunch vibe.
Yes.
Because they have the same kitchen, the same layout for the Brady Bunch had with the same nice lime, avocado green appliances
The
and
stairwell.
The stairwell, the Brady Bunch stairwell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always used to look at when I watched the TV show and go, man, I'd love to have a stairwell like that. My parents never do that, but it was super cool because, there was such a great, the musical tribute at the end, it had that kind of that electric harpsichord that the Partridge Family had going.
Mm-hmm.
It was, altogether just really wonderful. And I am super excited about the plot pacing that they've done in the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Because the first 2 were very expository about just kind of, here they are, they're doing this stuff, and hey, it's cool, it's really neat, it looks like this sitcom or that sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're starting to they're just giving you the barest teases of, here's something's kind of weird, here's something's going on, we're going to start kind of bringing in some stuff that looks a little bit more ominous, other than just the sweet, sitcom life that they were trying to maybe impose upon Vision and Wanda. Who knows? But it just did a really good job with the plot pacing as far as the way they set it up. That it makes me can't wait for next Friday.
Yeah. And I think in usually the 4th episode, which I think might be halfway through, is usually where you really start to see things change and start to happen. So from what I've read, next week is an extremely pivotal episode. So don't miss it next week. I thought one of the funniest scenes to me was the stork. As a part of the whole scene with the stork was super hilarious, and I just couldn't stop laughing at just the stork itself, just kind of walking around and getting into trouble. But I thought that was a fun callback to what sitcoms used to do to hide pregnancies, like it was a disease or something. And so they would put things in front of the women. She held a thing. I remember them doing that up until like the Cosby Show. They were doing that. Seinfeld, the Cosby Show, like late. People were hiding their pregnancies on the show. I think one show that just ignored it completely was It's Always Sunny, and wasn't that Always Sunny show? She just had a whole pregnancy and they didn't do anything. They just totally didn't say anything about it.
She stood behind the bar a lot, yeah.
And then it was like the next season she wasn't pregnant. Nobody said anything about it. So I just think it's really interesting. I really did enjoy that. And some of the other Easter eggs that Geraldine, when she came in, now you noticed in the prior episode, she was very demure and very 60s kind of person. And then she came out like Foxy Brown, and she even said, "Oh, I'm Foxy." So she had the afro, and she had the kind of two-piece denim, ensemble, and
Very all in Jefferson's, yeah.
yeah, and she was very kind of jive talking, and I thought that was really kind of funny how they switched her up to be, a little more to the era. And but I thought the thing about the show is there are a lot of clues, right? So once again, the commercial was very important because if you look closely at it, it's like, oh, you want to get away, but you don't want to go anywhere. Have Hydra soak.
Yeah.
And so then if at the end, if you looked at the box of the Hydra soak had the little Hydra symbol. And I was like, okay, that's what this is. So you don't know if it's her mind or she's being mind controlled. And then if you looked at Agnes at the fence talking, her skirt also had little swords on it. So the design had little swords. And I was like, okay, so now we know that she's with SWORD, the organization that's the second generation of S.H.I.E.L.D. to combat, I guess, kind of
Extraterrestrial.
extraterrestrial or beings who've acquired special powers. So now kind of she's involved with SWORD. And then, you see Geraldine got called out by her by having a sword necklace. And so, and you saw, I thought what was interesting was the discussion at the fence, because the Herb and Agnes were trying to talk to, and I think Herb wanted to tell Vision and Agnes stopped him. But I thought it was interesting. She didn't do it. At first I thought maybe she might be a villain, but she didn't look at him like a villain would look at somebody like, shut up. She just was kind of imploring him, not yet, they're not ready. And they kind of, stopped it. But she, from the Easter eggs I saw, she had her necklace had 3 witches on it. And so that could mean either an allusion to her being, like you said, I think, Pat, that she is a powerful witch who trained the Scarlet Witch at one point. And she's, a part of like the 3 fates that, if you think about Greek mythology, the fates were there to do prophecies about what could happen. So I thought that was interesting, but I thought that the discussion of Geraldine, I think, kind of led me to believe that Geraldine was placed in there, but they hadn't set her up like they set up everybody else. And so Geraldine really called out to Wanda about something that happened in her past, that she was trying to wake her up maybe too early. So and then, well, yeah, David
just just kicked her out. And you saw, I loved how she had to go home, and boom, out through the whatever, the large TV screen or whatever that they were at. And you get a sense of what the real world is.
Yeah.
And how they're either, again, is the real world trying to hold back Wanda's vision? or what is this? So it's just fascinating to see. But love to see how Geraldine had kind of triggered Wanda in that.
Yeah.
And again, you're seeing, and we saw some things certainly in the first two episodes as to how, to what extent is Wanda benevolent? Is she the protagonist? I mean, we're trying to be on her side. We know her from the movies. We like her.
Yeah.
She's clearly the star of the show, within the show even. So but how much is she doing to control and potentially harm some of these other people? And I just don't know.
Right. I think that, I thought one of the Easter eggs from Den of Geek talked about maybe she's caused harm because of the color of the helicopter. And so maybe somebody tried to enter this world of hers and she crashed it, or they crashed, because when it came into the yard, it was a small helicopter. So, that I was like, ooh, that's interesting. And, the other little peaks of the sword group, with the beekeeper, we're not quite sure yet if that is, I like my favorite theory, and tell me y'all what you guys think, that could be Swarm from the comics from back in the day, and that it's not a good that is not a good guy. Do you guys remember Swarm from the Amazing Spider-Man TV show back in the 80s, the 70s or 80s?
I'm drawing a blank.
Oh my God, that was my favorite episode. So Swarm was a big part of he was a part of the Marvel universe. He was originally he was a Nazi scientist who apparently he got attacked by bees, and he was doing something with the bees. They always trying to experiment or some weirdness. And so he
got Spider-Man.
Got eaten by the bees, but then his consciousness went into the bees, and then he became like a living embodiment of bees. And then in the TV show, it was a scientist who had some kind of accident, and the bees took over his body, and he became Swarm, and then he could use mind control on people and turn them into mindless bee kind of agents who would try to hurt Spider-Man and Firestorm and Iceman. It was a trippy episode, but it's still one of my favorites. It's on YouTube if you want to go back and look at it. It's hilarious. But that's just an aside. But because I still can't figure out why a beekeeper. And the beekeeper, wasn't there a character beekeeper or something in the series besides Swarm? Because if you remember in the episode, the title card where it's Brady Bunch, but all the little boxes are hexagons.
Yes,
that's right.
Like bees.
A very good point.
So there's a connection with bees and her. I mean, there's some kind of bee connection. So that kind of makes me think maybe it's Swarm or, the beekeeper, something's going on with the daggum bees.
That's a good point. I didn't even really put that together with the bee. You know what the thing is? I know that it's going to happen at the very end of this. We're all going to get together and we're going to go, they laid everything out for us. How come I didn't pick this up? Wow, here's a clue. Here's a clue. Here's a clue. There's one more clue. I didn't even see that clue. Because I didn't even pick that up, that the beekeeper and then the shape. I thought the shapes were weird, and I was like, they didn't really want to go, full Brady Bunch, splitting the screen to 9 parts.
Yeah,
I thought, well, it's kind of interesting. Maybe it's kind of hearkening to the Partridge Family's little weird thing with the bird flipping off feathers and having that be the title cards for each person. I mean, there were so many really interesting things going on, and I'm so interested in how this is going, because this is really revelatory. Every time you see a new episode, there's so many new things they're introducing, and you're seeing it's really progressing the plot.
Yeah, and why did she have? I mean, this harkens back to the books too, that she has 2 children, and there was a whole storyline about her 2 children trying to be taken by the bad guys, and I think this might harken back to that series of books where they are trying to protect the children. I guess it was some kind of super complicated thing with the kids and all this kind of stuff.
Well, the existence of the kids was complicated enough from the simple fact of android or synthezoid or whatever they want to call it in this particular.
Right.
I mean, as I recall, when Wanda did have children with Vision, the attending was Dr. Stephen Strange, because they had to have someone who could handle the sorcery ends of it and all the weirdness of it, and a good doctor on top of that.
Yeah, which makes sense because this is supposed to tie in to Doctor Strange and the something multiverse. It's
the universe of madness or whatever it is.
Yeah, the multiverse of madness or something like that. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a appearance, and the doctor's name was Dr. Stan Nielsen. And so Nielsen ratings. And then I think that was a callback to Stan Lee. So I thought that was interesting too. I was like, oh, okay.
You know, I got to tell you, that's one of the things I have been disappointed about in this so far, is that when I watched the Netflix Marvel series, they always had like a poster or a picture somewhere in the series of Stan Lee.
Yeah.
He never actually appeared on the film, but his image was always in there. I keep looking, hoping I could see something in there, because he was like the patron saint of Marvel,
Yeah, and I think that was maybe a call out, to Stan Lee, which I thought was really nice, and he's a giant, and that was a true loss to the comic world, but he left good people in charge of Marvel to carry on the traditions. And I mean, this episode was just so chock full of stuff to call from the old comics and Ultron, when they talked about, there was a lot of callbacks, and she talked about she was a twin, and I think that was her starting to understand that, some of real life came in when she saw the twin babies. Right. And then she sang a Sokovian, Sokola, whatever. Sokolian lullaby. And I was like, oh, okay. And then wham, because it's like someone who has amnesia, and then people get frustrated and they try to tell them, well, don't you remember me? Or don't you, this is this. And the person is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then, because they want them to remember, and then they can't. And then with Wanda, if she don't want to remember, she get rid of you. So I think, and part of what I like too in the episode is you're seeing some of I was reading about the lighting and the camera angles, and that they use the same types of lights that they used to use during that era. Yeah. So each sitcom will use the technology that they used in that episode to give it the same feel and the same kind of technical vision of it. But I thought, oh, wow, they really are thinking of like everything. So I wonder with the next one.
I was thinking that too. What series are they going to homage next? Okay, we're thinking in the 70s. So what's an 80s one? Cheers, maybe?
No, it's got to be a family one, right?
It could be Cosby. But these have been
family ties. I bet it's family ties.
It could very easily be family ties.
Yeah, family ties.
And then you think you got Friends, you've got all kinds of things to get in. Hey, it was signed.
Was
not
Friends in the 80s or 90s? I thought Friends was 90s.
But we're thinking, okay, we're jumping technically about a decade every episode.
Yeah. So this would be 80s. So it would.
Next one's going to be 80s. New one's going to be 70s.
So I think it's either Family Ties or who would it be? Or Cosby or
Family
what was
Ties.
another big one?
Well, I think Growing Pains could be because
Silver Spoon.
Growing Pains would be a perfect one. Yeah.
Who's the boss?
Which one?
Who's the
Who's
boss?
the boss?
Who's the boss? Oh, Full House.
Full House.
Yep.
Full House.
Facts of Life. I mean, there's
Actually, and you know, Full House would be perfect because she's a sister of Mary Kate.
oh my god, that would be epic, wouldn't it?
That would be.
But the thing was, there was never. Okay, we got to eliminate ones where there were no female leads, because in Full House it was just the boys and the three girls.
What's her name? She was a lead. Lori, the mother. I mean, what was she? Like Lori Laughlin.
Right.
You know,
goes by a new thing though, Pam. It's now her name.
Jailbird?
And its number is 067 PX429J. That's for the next 4 to 6 months. Great with good behavior.
no, she's out. So
Oh, is she?
she's back to being Lori Laughlin. Of course she's out. She's
That's
rich.
it. There's
she's
injustice in that. No pun intended for other comic stories. But
Yeah, she's out. I mean, she's rich. She ain't paying. I mean, you know how it go. She was in there with 37 days, and then she's out.
At a country club, yeah, basically.
Yeah, come on. And so,
Prison Light.
yeah, that was some BS. But meanwhile, steal a Snickers from a corner deli, and you could get 2 years. Hard time.
Or you can be Wesley Snipes and evade taxes and go to jail for like years.
Yeah, like 8 or 9 years he was in jail.
Yeah, well, he was kind of. I can't believe. I mean, yeah, dumb believing that you didn't have to pay income taxes because of you're a sovereign citizen or some crazy shit. Unbelievable.
I was like, dude,
Quit rewarding your stupid people. Yes, but
pay your taxes. Ask somebody. Go to H&R Block. Shit, pay your tax.
well, that's how they got Capone. I mean,
Exactly.
Taxes
They're gonna get their money.
That's
Now,
right.
you could commit terror. You could blow up buildings. You could do a whole lot of stuff, but the feds are gonna get you on not paying your taxes.
Gotta pay taxes.
So that's what that is super funny. But yeah, I can't wait until next week, because I think next week is going to be pivotal, and they probably have a lot in store, because I sense Visions has cracks, and so since he's a being made out of intelligence, he keeps figuring out something's not right, and she keeps changing the reality around him to make him still go along with what's happening. So is this a limited series? Are they only going to do one?
I think they're only doing one.
Okay, so that will.
I would like to just mention, how bad did Paul Bettany look when he wasn't visioned up? He looked rough. I'm going to say that just as kind of a thing. I mean, he's Richard Meany.
That hair, that wig is so awful
wig,
he's
yeah.
wearing.
He looked a little rough.
Yeah, that might be when he got sick and snotted all over her.
Maybe. I don't know what was up.
Sorry, wet.
Yeah.
And so
I look at him like, and you could really, the thing is, I think there's like 20 years in age difference between Bettany and Olsen. And
yeah.
you could really see it at that particular moment. Hey, I'm an old guy and I get it, but I know I can't date no 20-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, what is she? She's probably in her, is she?
Mid-20s.
Late 20s?
She's mid to late 20s and he's mid 40s.
Is that all he is? Okay. Huh. I thought he was.
I mean, because we older, and I get doesn't bug us, but yeah, it's how old he is. Doesn't seem that old, but yeah, it's old. When you're 20,
Mid
that's old.
40s is not old. Excuse
When
me.
you're 20, Pam, it is ancient. It's like you used to ride a dinosaur to work,
I'm sure that's what the 20-year-olds think.
I hear it all the time. Trust me.
I mean, to be fair, when we were that age,
Yeah, 4-year-olds is
40
old.
seemed like my grandma is 40. I mean, which is generally, I can't say always, but generally not true. But
That's like trying to explain to young kids about how Netflix used to mail DVDs to you in the mail.
I know. And video stores, I think the youngest of the millennials probably don't know what a video store
They
is.
might. The youngest maybe might.
Yeah.
I always try and remind everyone about the good old 8-tracks, which is my favorite way
Oh,
to
Lord.
listen to music. And so I love to get the looks on people's faces during the Microsoft Teams or the Zoom calls or whatever when I start talking about 8-tracks. And I just...
Hey, you're just a hipster, David.
Yeah.
Just trying to get all retro on them,
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool, man.
Yeah. And okay. So Dwayne looked it up for us, and Paul Bettany is 49. I thought he was closer to 50.
Okay.
And Wanda is 31. So I mean,
it's still a 20-year difference.
Yeah. I mean, you could be like, I don't know, he's hot. So
it's really acceptable.
I wouldn't say no, but he's super hot. So
I heard the formula is half your age plus 7.
Don't start with that mess.
Seems reasonable.
Over 21, and it depends on how much money you have.
Richness gives you like a +2 bump on your hotness.
No, please. I can't even imagine being with someone who's in their 20s. I mean, you're just still trying to figure stuff out yet.
What are you going to talk to him about? What are you going to talk to him about?
Well, I guess you're right about that.
Just remember, Pamela Anderson married some 80-year-old dude when she was in her 30s. Just remember.
Yeah.
Wasn't because he was good looking, it's because he had lots of money.
I mean, now there's some daddy issue stuff going on there too. So, but no. I mean, but now women are doing it too. So why not?
Yeah, sure.
Whatever floats your boat. If you can snag one, you in your 50s and he's in his 20s or 30s, hey, more power to you. I'm not trying to do none of that, but good luck on that. So just remember, don't catch feelings. But we're catching feelings with all of you out there. So thank you. We had a fun show. Any final thoughts or things we should look out for?
Only thing I would say, you made such a great point, Pam, with regards to those hexagons. The layers for this show are very deep. There's a lot of hidden meanings everywhere. Mm-hmm. You need to really watch this closely. You got to break down the game film because I think, I hadn't thought about it before. So I applaud you in this. That's a great connection back to the beekeeper and maybe these other people kind of stuck in this world, this hive and being drones and kind of playing out some roles. Some really deep stuff going on here. I'm getting the popcorn popped, and I'm going to be looking forward to watching come next Friday.
Exactly, it's the same. I mean, trying to predict this is going to be really rough. I mean, no one can. Everything is just so. It's like a well-planned cake. So many layers, and each layer goes on top of this, and at the end, you get this beautiful cake that's wonderful because they're really doing a good job at not giving you too many hints, but giving you hints that kind of harken back to old things. Right. And, every step is just giving you a little bit more, but it's, they're not giving you the next step. So, I mean, they're doing a wonderful job at creating a nice series that makes you want to. It's must-watch TV.
Oh,
Just saying. Go back to the old. Hey, if we're,
I mean, that's back in the that's the
if
80s.
we're on nostalgia,
Let's
let's
Watch
do this.
TV is back in the 80s. So that's what we'll be looking at next week. Is
Right.
maybe they'll be in the 80s decade. So we'll be like excited to see which sitcom or it's maybe a couple of sitcoms that they kind of bring into WandaVision. So as we say, art is too important not to share. And thank you all for joining us here at Pjamma Life. We look forward to you next week. I just have to show after the inauguration. Check her out. So, new style of vice president we got going on. So I hope you all had a chance to check out the inauguration activity. It was beautiful. And next week we'll look at episode 4. And also, if you notice, now they have titles to the episodes. So we'll be able to talk about the title of the episode and what that meaning that might have to next week's episode 4. So see you all. Same bat time, same bat.
You can't mix that, Pam. What's wrong with you?
So we'll talk to you all next week.
See you guys.
Bye. Bye.